Hello and welcome. For this segment of the show, we have Judge Paula Brown, candidate for the Court of Appeal for the Fourth Circuit Court of Louisiana. Judge Paula Brown, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Judge Brown, you would like the voters for the Fourth Circuit, people who are voting for this race, to consider you and vote for you for the Court of Appeal for the state of Louisiana for the Fourth Circuit. Why don't you tell the voters, what is that court?
Okay, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it to allow me to speak to your audience. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal is a reviewing court. It is an appellate court. Right now, I sit on the Civil District Court, which is the court of first impression. That's where any litigant come before the court. If they are aggrieved by a decision of the district court, rather civil court, criminal court, juvenile, or domestic, they can file an appeal to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal, and they review the decisions of those lower courts.
So everybody understands the Court of Appeal is not for the entire state of Louisiana. The Fourth Circuit is for a certain area.
That's right.
What area does it include, or what parishes?
Orleans Parish, Plaquemines Parish, and St. Bernard Parish.
Okay.
And the seat I'm running for is strictly Orleans Parish, for Orleans Parish voters.
So if you live in Orleans Parish, when you go to vote on March 25th, you'll be able to cast a vote for Court of Appeal judge, and that would be this judgeship we're talking about.
That is correct.
Okay. So that includes criminal cases, civil cases, any other courts?
Domestic and juvenile.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So tell us what the role of a judge on the Court of Appeal is.
Well, if elected, I will be in a panel of either 3 or 5, and it's to review cases from Orleans Parish, St. Bernard Parish, and Plaquemines Parish. If a party is aggrieved, and they could take an appeal, but also they could take a writ. A writ is every other week we have what we call motion hearings or rule day. I bet you're very familiar with that.
I've been in your courtroom. I think I've been in every courtroom all over Orleans and Jefferson Parish and St. Bernard and plenty of other places.
Yes.
So,
most of those are procedural matters.
Right.
Okay, before we get to the merits. If a party is aggrieved, even by whatever ruling is on a writ day or a motion hearing, they can take what they call a writ to the Fourth Circuit. There they also have panels. The panel of 3, it has to be 2 out of 3, or if it's a panel of 5, 3 out of 5, the majority.
So that's the vote. Each of the judges has a vote, and if you get 2 out of 3 votes, then whatever that vote is, the majority vote, 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5, then that's the decision of the court on that case.
That
right?
is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
And if it's an appeal, generally that means the decision has been made as to the entire case on the trial court level.
That is correct.
And if it's a writ, maybe it's a specific aspect of the case, but not the entire case. And they ask the Court of Appeal to make a decision about that one aspect.
That's right, that one issue. That is
Okay.
correct.
All right. And the decisions on the Court of Appeal can affect how cases are handled. It can be a decision that has effect for anyone with cases or the law in the Orleans, Jefferson, St. Bernard area, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And that includes Plaquemines, did I?
Orleans, St. Bernard, Plaquemines. That's
Right.
correct.
Okay. I said Jefferson. Does not include Jefferson.
It does not. Jefferson is
My
Fifth
bad.
Circuit.
Okay. So let's take a short break, and we'll resume the discussion and the questions in just a minute. Welcome back. We are discussing with Judge Paula Brown, judge from the Civil District Court, Trial Court, what her qualifications are, what she would like the voters to know about her, because she would like your votes for the Court of Appeal for the Louisiana Fourth Circuit. So Judge Brown, let's talk about a little bit of your background, your experience. Why do you believe, or what about you and your experience, your background, do you believe qualifies you for the Fourth Circuit Court Appellate Court, and why you over your opponent in this race?
Okay, I have vast experience. My legal experience spanned nearly 25 years. I have been on the district court for 7. I've practiced both plaintiffs and defense litigation, but more importantly, I have served as judicial law clerk at both the Civil District Court and the Louisiana Supreme Court for our current Chief Justice, Burnett Johnson. And in 2004, because of my experience, I was appointed by the Supreme Court to sit as judge pro tempore. And that's temporary judge until the election of a permanent seat, and that was Judge Paula Brown. I think my vast experience uniquely qualifies me for this position at the Supreme Court. I was charged with preparing the chief by writing opinions and writ applications, and they consisted of juvenile, civil, criminal, and domestic cases.
So your experience on the working in the Supreme Court as a law clerk to the Chief Justice, and the other experiences you described are helpful to you in what you expect your work will be if you are elected to the Court of Appeals.
Absolutely. And what I do now, you have appeared before me. On every case, no matter how big, how small, I give a reasons for judgment orally on the record to let the attorneys or litigants, if they are self-represented, why I'm doing what I'm doing. Which means that if they decide to take a writ, even the Fourth Circuit, it assists the Fourth Circuit who reviews my work in letting them know why I did what I did. So I had no idea me working so hard on the front end was preparing me for this job on the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal if elected.
So your reasons for judgment when you issue a ruling for one side or the other, explain why you ruled
That's
one
correct.
way or the other.
That's exactly correct.
Okay. So what about your upbringing, your education, and your younger life? If you can give us a brief response. I mean, I wish we had all day to talk. It would be helpful to everybody. Do you believe it has had any effect or help in preparing you for the position of judge on the Court of Appeals?
Absolutely. To tell you a little bit about myself, I am originally from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Came to New Orleans on a basketball scholarship to Tulane, and I have planted my feet, planted some seeds, and I've seen my roses start to grow in this community. I think that, number one, being a student athlete, being able to prepare on the court and also prepare in the courtroom shows my strong work ethic. I went on to Southern University Law Center where I received my law degree and started my practice here in the city. I'm strongly embedded in this community. I don't believe that you have to be born or reared here in order to be a part of the community or be in the community. In fact, I like to say I was reared in Ocean Springs, but I grew up in New Orleans because I've been here since I was 17 years old.
Let me ask you about, let's change gears a little bit. What about your perception of how the courts treat minorities, in particular Hispanics, on the topics of access to justice, and whether or not you believe you'll be able to have any impact or say on how minorities are treated in our court system, perhaps in the way decisions are reviewed on appeal, or if that's something that you have noticed in your legal career.
Okay. Well, the first thing, I think that's a great question. The first thing that we all should be mindful of as judges or those who are running to be judges, access to justice. And let's talk about the Hispanic community. I have had many trials in my division where Hispanics were either the plaintiff or defendant for that matter, or even a witness, it's imperative, and I have implemented this as well, we make sure that they're interpreters. That is the piece in order for the party to get their testimony out for the judge to understand it. I think that's imperative, and that will be the first thing that any judge, I would think, even on a court of appeal, would look for to make sure that that party, plaintiff or defendant, had access to justice, is whether the information that they were attempting to elicit as testimony was comprehended by the judge. And the only way you can do that is with an interpreter, if that judge is not Spanish speaking.
Sure. Okay. Define a platform for your campaign and what goals you have in general, and if you have some specific examples of what you'd like to see in the Court of Appeals, any modifications or improvements that you'd like to see in the Court of Appeals?
Well, I think I have a few goals, and my platform is such that I want to bring the zeal and the preparedness that I have right now on the district court to the Fourth Circuit. I know that there are times when the length of time and the amount of when a party is waiting on a decision may be lengthy. I would like to get there and work closely with whomever is on my panel to try to shorten that time period. I think also as a student athlete, I'm a team player. So I know how that works, and I think that I would be able to work well with others. On the district court, we make the decisions based upon our interpretation of the law and the facts, but it's our decision. We're the judges. We don't have to play well with others. On the Fourth Circuit, we do have to play well with others, and I think that I can do that. But also, I think that on a writ, when a writ is denied, most times it says writ denied. I think that for lawyers to figure out or try to attempt to determine which way their cases should go, if they had a blurb of why the writ is denied, I think that may help the lawyers. And I think that is why it has a lot to do with why I give the lawyers reasons why I did what I did. Whether they agree with me or not, they have to say that I'm fair and impartial and based upon the reasoning. You may not agree with it, but I gave you the truth as I interpreted the law with the facts. So I would like to see that. But finally, I work in a community. I'm a public servant, the real word of a public servant. Not just a public servant being a judge on the bench, but the things that I do when I'm off the bench. And what I can tell the voters out there is I will not disappear. The things that I do in the community, I'm a mentor and big sister, and I work with closely with organizations that support the homeless youth and teach kids to read. I won't stop that work. And I think sometimes lawyers think that there's no access to judges, and litigants think that there's no access. I will be in the community, so I will still keep that work going.
We'll be right back, and we will continue our conversation with Judge Paula Brown, candidate for Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals judge. Welcome back. We are talking with Judge Paula Brown, candidate for judge on the Court of Appeals for Louisiana's Fourth Circuit. Here's a question I like to ask everyone on our show, and that is, I'd like you to see if you can recall a time either as a public servant, as a judge at Civil District Court, or maybe before when you were a practicing attorney, where you were forced to take a controversial position or an unpopular position, and you had to deal with the reaction to that, maybe a decision on a case or something. And how did you deal with that?
Well, there is, even as a judge, I made a decision based on the law and based on the facts, but I think that there were members of the community who did not, particularly the litigant, who did not agree with that decision. As a result of that, I have been on the internet and been ridiculed, but I stand firm that I made a decision based upon the law and the facts.
You made, that's the responsibility you have as a
Absolutely.
judge, right? You have to make the decision. You make a decision and you stand by it.
Absolutely.
Sometimes people get offended, right?
Yes, and look, we have to rule based upon the law. We do, and I think sometimes when litigants are self-represented, they don't understand the law aspect of it. They really don't understand, and so they think it's personal, and it's not personal. It's not personal at all.
Yeah.
But it's hard. You know, it's hard. We as judges, we can't say anything. We can't really defend ourselves. We can't talk about the case. We can't do any of those things. So that's the hard part of this job. That's the hard part of this job.
Well, it seems like in every case, 50% are going to be winners, 50% are going to be losers.
That's true.
Just about every case.
That's true.
Okay. Well, Judge Paula Brown, this has been very helpful and interesting, and I think our viewers have a much better idea now of you and your qualifications for the post. We have to conclude. We've run out of time, but I would like you to, if you'd like, share any last thoughts or comments, anything you'd like to say to our viewers, any last thoughts or comments for them to consider when going to the voting booth March 25th.
Absolutely. First of all, I'd like to thank you again for allowing me to be on the show. And I would like your viewers, I want to ask them for their support and their vote. I am a judge for the people, and the people elected me 7 years ago, and I have been a judge for the people, all people. And even Hispanic concerns me. Any lack of access to justice for anyone concerns me. And I am asking you for your vote, and I'm asking you to vote for number 4 on the ballot, Paula Brown. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm Attorney John Redmann. Yo soy el abogado Juan Redmann, here on an election special for De Todo Un Poco and John Redmann Power of Attorney with candidate Paula Brown, candidate for the 4th Circuit Court of Appeals. Thank you for joining us for this segment, and we'll see you very soon.